stocks. British American Tobacco is the world's second largest quoted tobacco group. It was created from the merger of Rembrandt Rothmans International and Imperial Tobacco under the leadership of Anton Rupert. It has a market cap of 892 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 20 and a dividend yield of 3.7%. Now, this is one success story, particularly in the emerging market space. Your thoughts on British?
Yeah, look, as you say there, it was the old United Tobacco, Anton Rupert, the Rembrandt Group. They merged it into Rothmans, and then from Rothmans they formed basically British American Tobacco, and they went then from strength to strength. They incorporated the South African assets, bought Brown & Williamson in the US. It's been a fantastic success story for a couple of reasons. Firstly, they have benefited from the weakening of the rand over the last year or two, and secondly, they have done a number of inspired acquisitions in countries like Colombia, Indonesia, Turkey, and so on and so forth. Effectively going into countries where there's still a high smoking propensity by young people and particularly by men, buying these companies, jacking up their production, improving the marketing. They've got these 4 focus brands, which they are now trying to get people to sort of upgrade themselves to, if you could use that term. So the idea is you want someone who used to smoke beedies, which is a mixture of tobacco and cloves in Indonesia, and you buy Bentoel, and then you try and get them to smoke Dunhill or Pall Mall. That's the game plan. And to date, it's working very well. Hence the price, well above 400 rand.
Indeed, quite seeing a bit of a rally in the price. Your thoughts on British American Tobacco, Mark?
Yeah, I would agree with Paul in that at the same time they have focused their business or focused their distribution into the faster growing emerging markets where regulation is still very lax. You know, you're finding in places like Australia and to a certain extent the US and Europe, smoking is becoming a lot more difficult. In fact, there was just a landmark ruling where companies cannot advertise their brands on cigarette packets anymore in Australia. And you know, theoretically, that's one of their intellectual property. That's one of their competitive advantages. But at the same time, you know, going forward, I think that British Americans position themselves well into the emerging market space. And yeah, I mean, we really like the business. We think management is very strong. They've got a great balance sheet, very strong cash flow. They have a very high, reasonably high dividend yield. It does look a little bit pricey, but like I said, the visibility of earnings is very strong. And from our point of view, we particularly like the Ruperts as managers. They seem to understand how to make money.
All right, let's look at the African growth strategy, Paul. And you're looking at the share price like this. Africa, we know, is growing, so a company to be getting into. But at this price, is time to get in?
Look, I'm not a big fan of this company or of this industry for the following reason. I think you ought to be positioning yourself for investment reasons for stocks that are going to do well over the next decade or two. So you don't have to buy and sell or decide to when to get in or when to get out. For me, the problem with British American Tobacco is it's a big player in what is effectively a sunset industry, because there's a limit to the number of countries where you can go in and do deals like we were talking about earlier. If the World Health Organization has looked at this and found that apparently the problem is with men in emerging countries, 50% of men in Asia, Africa, and outside of the developed world smoke. Only 11% of women, you'll be happy to know. Women much cleverer than men.
Indeed.
So, you know, I just see a world in years to come where the taxes are going to get higher and higher. As Mark says, the olive green drab packs, they're going to limit the availability of this thing. You're probably going to have to, you know, show a license to be able to smoke. And the taxes are going to get higher and higher. You know, 15 rand a box is what it costs apparently now for a pack. I think a 20s here. You know, in a couple of years' time, it's going to be even more. You won't be able to advertise, no links to sport, nothing on TV, nothing anywhere near children. You probably find they're going to define children as people under 35 soon, as far as smoking is concerned. So for me, it's not an industry you want to be lending your capital to. It doesn't pay a high enough dividend yield. The PEs are too high. But then again, I was telling people what a bum investment it was at 200 rand a share. Now it's at 400 rand a share.
So they've missed out. So, Mark, when you look at British American Tobacco, would you say it's hot or not? Given what Paul has been saying about the sector, he doesn't like it much.
Yeah, look, this has been actually a sort of a core, a mainstay within our portfolio. It's generally always been there since we started trading. We've had, in some instances, we've increased the position size rapidly as the markets come off, and right now we do think it's a little bit, it is looking a little bit punchy. We agree on the developed markets. I mean, Australia is now looking at introducing a law where they won't sell cigarettes to anybody born after the year 2000. so that doesn't start moving forward. But, Africa is still the fastest urbanizing continent in the world. You still have China and the rest of, Asia-centric around China, as well as India, where I think smoking will continue. So I think for the next 3 to 5 years, the outlook is reasonably bright. The PE rating could re-rate quite rapidly from a 20 back down to a 12 or a 14, where it kind of traditionally used to trade. So at this point, I would say no, I wouldn't be piling in. But if I have it, we hold this for the meanwhile.
So not hot for you.
Medium, lukewarm. If that's,
do
you have that option? If it's not hot or not?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be buying it. No, not right now.
So not hot. And yourself, Paul?
No, not hot for me.
So
no,
two not hots on British American tobacco.